Hey, you guys, it's 12:12. Look at God. It's 12:12. Listen, I wanted to come on and I want to share some things with you all. Oh, my battery is low, so I'm gonna have to share fast. You guys, come on in. Come on in. It's lunchtime. We're gonna have a little lunchtime chat. Let me share. Hey, Eileen, how are you, beautiful? Have a little lunchtime chat. So I titled this Me, God, and Business. And I titled this for a number of reasons, right? In the world, we're taught that God and business don't go together, that you keep that separate. We're taught that everything in our lives is separate, right? Like ministry is separate from business, it's separate from life, it's separate from all of these things are separate. Well, this is the thing about me and my life and my journey. What God showed me was that He was bringing all the pieces of my life together. He said that there are separations that are created by man that are false separations that give people a false sense of separation when it's really not separate. And that He's called me to pull it together. To pull it together, to pull my life together. My life is holistic. Everything that I do is God and God's business. Everything in my life is God, and God is in everything that I do. I don't have the luxury of separating God from what I do, from who I am, because He is me. He's in me. When I show up, He shows up, right? And so one of the things that He told me was that I had to get comfortable with that. The challenge with that is that it's counter to what the world says do. And the other thing that God told me was to show up authentically. Now, listen, my authentic may not work for you. It may not be what you're accustomed to. It may not be what you connect with. But there's a reason that He tells me to show up authentically. Like, I do not censor myself like that, right? And I'm going to tell you why. Because you know what? People are tired. People are tired of church people, pretending to be one way, but really being another way. I've seen it. Like, I've been behind the veil. I've been behind the veil, and something happens to you once you go behind the veil. When you go behind the veil, like, it will mess you up. It'll mess you up. The things that you see and they hear, you'll be like, what? Wait a minute. So listen, you guys, you don't have to go behind the veil to see who I am. You're always going to see who I am up front. And as God is working on me, as God is moving things in my life, you're going to see that. You're going to see the progression. So I wanted you guys to know that, because I really want to be clear about who I am and what my God, let me tell y'all something. Hold on. What my ministry is. I'm talking about mine. I'm not talking about anybody else's ministry, but I'm talking about mine. My ministry is a ministry of reconciliation, of bringing the pieces of your life together on one accord, like all the pieces of your life, the fragments of your life, bringing them together so that you can be whole, right? Now, as such, I may offend people, If there's a cuss in my spirit and a cuss comes out, I may offend you. I apologize that you're offended. I apologize that you're offended. I don't apologize for the cuss. Let me say that again. I apologize that you're offended, but I don't apologize for the cuss. Let me tell you, I've worked very hard to get to the place where I am simply obedient. Simply obedient. Not perfect, haven't been perfected all the way. Listen, I am a work in progress. I would never say anything other than that. But I will say this. I'm clear on my assignment, and I'm clear how God told me to do it. Now, I'm clear about that. And there was a time in my life when I would allow people and people's opinions or what people said to dictate the direction that I go in things. That's not this time in my life. That's not this place in my life. And I hear God. I hear Him. And I hear him clearly. And what's funny is today's prophetic word was that you're going to get extra clear in your assignment and your purpose. And I'm grateful for that, because let me tell y'all something. When you are not clear, you'll be shaken by things that happen in your life. I'm not shaken. And I'm real clear. I'm probably the clearest I've ever been in my life about who I am and what God has called me to do and who God has called me to, right? So there'll be people who may like some of what I am and who I am, but they can't handle all of what I am. And I get that. I absolutely get that. You're not my tribe then. Like, I get it. Listen, I'm just telling y'all, you're not my tribe. Listen, there are people out there, and I promise you, that time I cussed might be the very thing that draws them in. They be like, oh, she's real. Now, I'm not out here just cussing for the sake of cussing, but if there's a cuss in my spirit, it may come out. And not just in private when I'm with the preachers, where everybody just allows their mouths to flow freely, the way they really flow, and not how they flow in public. So this separation of the public and the private is false. It's a false separation, right? People will be one way in public and another way in private. That's not me. I won't be that. I won't be one way in public and another way in private. I won't act like I don't cuss in public, but cuss in private. If I cuss in private, I'll cuss in public. Now, when God decides to shut the cuss up out of me, because I'm going to tell you, I used to not cuss. I used to not cuss. Like, I didn't cuss at all. Like, at all. My children will tell you there was a period of my life where I did not cuss at all. But I was very extreme in everything I did. And what God did was he took me from extreme to extreme. I went from not cussing at all to like just, I had a period where I just was cussing. Then he brought me back to the middle. And that's where I am. And God just, I'm different. I say this all the time. I say I'm different. I'm different. And I am different. And I'm different unapologetically. And I appreciate the prayers of the saints. I appreciate the word, that God may give you. And it, you may feel like it's a word for me. I appreciate that. And I appreciate when you're obedient. I appreciate that. I just want to be real clear. I want to be real clear because I don't want people to be confused, right? I think that clarity in communication prevents miscommunication. So I want you all in Facebook land to be real clear that when you're getting Dr. V, you're getting Dr. V. Okay? I'm not just out here saying stuff to say it. You'll never hear me begging for money. But when the Lord says, say, I say. And I'm not going to manipulate people into doing something that they don't want to do or they don't feel led to do. But I hear God even as it relates to my business. Like, who's supposed to be connected with me? Like, I hear God on that, right? And if I hear God on that, I'm going to say what God says, okay? What you do with that is totally up to you. It's totally up to you. But my business is God's business. And God's business is my business. And I like it like that. I don't want to do something that God can't be in. I don't want to be somewhere where I can't talk about God, where God can't be present, where his strategies cannot be revealed to me. I don't want that for my life. Now, I'm just talking about me. Now, that doesn't mean that that's how your life works. And I'm okay with that. But my business, whether we're talking about 1044 Pro, whether we're talking about my school, whether we're talking about my coaching, all of that belongs to God. All of that is God's business. Every single bit of it. You see, because God gave me certain mandates. He gave me certain mandates and certain mountains that I am to occupy. And he's got to be present in every mountain that I occupy. There's the mountain of entrepreneurship and business, right? I have an apostolic kingdom entrepreneurship mandate on my life. It's kingdom. It's kingdom. I operate on the mountain of education. I have an apostolic educational mandate on my life. I like there's a whole thing that God is doing. Like he literally has my foot on multiple mountains, right? And so I can't be on those mountains without him. So they are his business. Everything I do is his business. Does that mean I never miss him? It doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean that. But what it does mean is I'm confident in like never before that I'm doing exactly what he wants me to do, exactly how he wants me to do it. Even if the words make people uncomfortable, even if what I do makes people uncomfortable, even if people don't believe that that's God, like that's not my business. What's my business is to hear the voice of God for myself. And I encourage you guys and I implore you guys to hear the voice of God for yourself. That you might know that it's him. If I told you how God talked to me, you'd be like, oh my God, that's not God. No, I'm talking about how God talks to me. You know, he may not talk to you like that. That may not be y'all's language. But I'm telling you how God talks to me. It's different. And it's God. I stay in a place where I'm like, God, I want to be exactly where you want me to be. Even if it doesn't look like what other people think or it doesn't make sense, right? I'm telling you guys, and I want you to hear it from my mouth. God is infused in every business that I do. I'm not doing it if he's not in it. And if he can't be in it, I can't be in it. And that's me. It's me. It's the mandate he has on my life. My mandate may be different from everybody else's or other people's, but it's my mandate. And I have to walk it out. When it comes to ministry, he told me I need the real you to show up. I don't need the churchified you to show up. I don't need the churchy you to show up. I just need the real you to show up and I'll work out all the details. God is real clear with me on that he's not waiting for me to be perfected for me to be used. And I think that a lot of times, you know, we have these ideas of how God is going to use us, you know, and I'm thankful I have some people that be praying for me, you know, because, you know, I'm like, okay, God, listen, you gonna have to do this because I'm not pretending. I'm not pretending. I'm not going to pretend in any shape, form, or fashion at all, period. I'm determined to be free and to stay free. And that means that I have to be authentic in a way that will make some people uncomfortable. But I'm going to be unapologetically me. When you guys hear me talk about God and you hear me talk about 1044 Pro in the same conversation, if you knew the spiritual significance of this company, like I know for a fact that God told me to connect with this company, that this is a God thing, and that the hand of God is on this company at this time. Y'all hear what I said? At this time. So I just have to be obedient. So when I talk about it, I'm going to talk about it in my conversation with God because like they are going together for me. You know, God told me that this is a season where, and if you listen, so you don't have to believe me. Listen, you don't have to believe me. Go listen to some of the prophets y'all respect. Go listen to some of the prophets y'all respect, like Ryan Lestrange. Ryan Lestrange has been talking about this apostolic kingdom prophetic entrepreneurship mandate that's out here. Like, you don't have to believe me. Go check them out and see what they're saying. I'm telling you, God is in business. And one of the things that I love about certain people is that they don't take him out of their business. God is in my business. Period. I apologize if that makes you feel uncomfortable or you feel like that's not God. But, and I'm going to tell you why I'm addressing this publicly, because I could have just addressed it in a private inbox, but I'm addressing it publicly because I promise you there's more than one person that feels the same way. And so what I've learned is you address things publicly. That way, everybody that feels that way, they know where you are and where you stand. I don't try to hide where I stand on anything. I listen, we can agree to disagree, like whatever. But I want you all to know, and I want you to hear it from my mouth. I want you to hear it from my mouth. My school is not a Christian school, but is God in my school? Absolutely, he is. Absolutely. Does God show up? Absolutely, he does. And in whatever business that I do, God is there because I'm there. We're inseparable. Me, God, and business. We rock. Like, we go together like 4 flat tires. Like, whatever I do. Now, that doesn't mean that if you're a part of my ministry that you have to do the business that I do. You don't at all. You don't have to look at it. You don't have to do it. You don't have to use the products. You don't have to try it. You don't have to do any of that. But I'm going to tell you what, this company is going to fund my ministry. It's going to fund my ministry. You see, I know that God has already given me the vision for how he's doing things in my life. He says, I'm giving you businesses that will generate residual income, which will fund ministry, which will fund your school, God is very specific with me about what he's doing. Me, God, and business. He's even talked to me about the names and numbers and the science and all of that. See, there's purpose and strategy in everything that God does. We don't always understand it because we can't always see all the pieces. But when I partnered with 1044 Pro, when I was reading the website and it was talking about the angel number 1044, I said, what? Did they say the angel number? What? Come on now. Are you kidding me? For some people, that's a turnoff for them because they feel like that's not of God. They feel like numbers and angel numbers, that's not of God. That's not my belief. That's not my belief. And that may be your belief, but it's not my belief because I understand that God speaks through numbers. If you go through the Bible, there are certain numbers that continue to show up. Those numbers have significance. Now we can say that that's, that's of the devil. See, we've given the devil too much. And I say this all the time. I'm not giving the devil another thing. There's not another thing that I'm willing to give him and tell him, oh, it's yours. That God created, the devil is a lie. He's a liar. I'm not doing it. So when I talk about 1044 Pro, yeah, I'm all in. And God is present. And people may not get it. They may not understand it, but that's not my business. That's not my business. My business is to be as clear as I can with people, clear as I can with you so that you guys know where I'm coming from. And this is not arrogance. It's not that I think I'm the only person who can hear from God. I don't. But I'm going to tell you this. God will always speak with me and deal with me on something before anyone else does. He'll be heading me in a direction. Now, I might not realize always that that's the direction that he's taking me in, but he's been taking me in a direction and then I end up in a place. Remember I told you about the 3 yeses? The 3 yeses. When you give God 3 yeses, then you give him permission to take you to the next place. All he wants is a yes. And so I don't have to see the end. I just have to give him my yes, and then my yes, and then my yes, and then he takes me to a place. So I'm excited because let me tell y'all what's happening tonight. Tonight, the doctor who developed the technology that drives 1044 Pro's, our bar, the Carbolin and the Protalin process, he's going to be speaking. And I have every confidence in the world that God is going to show me some spiritual significance in the science behind the technology. See, this is what I know. God is in a season where he's beginning to connect the dots for his children. And if you will allow him to connect the dots between science and math and spirituality, God is connecting dots. He specializes in connecting dots. We often miss it. We miss it because we have bought into a Western Eurocentric view of the world that's either this or that, that's very fragmented, that's compartmentalized. That's not God. God is not a compartmentalized God. And so because we can't understand the holistic nature of God, we get confused and we get stuck on certain pieces of who God is. And we make those pieces of who he is all of who he is. But it's not. If you don't believe me, look at the life of people like Solomon, who is the world's richest man. Look at the lives of people that, like Joseph, who had position, authority, and wealth for a certain time. Look at people like Esther, who was made to be the wife of the king so that she would be in position to rescue her people. For such a time as this, God is positioning some of us in certain places. We won't all be in the same place. That doesn't mean that your place is wrong. It just means that we're in different places. God is doing something so incredible and so amazing that those that have eyes to see and ears to hear, you won't miss it. You won't miss it. But if you do miss it, my prayer is that it comes back around for you. I'm as transparent as I can be. And I try to walk in the authenticity that God has required me to walk in. And I'm sometimes baffled that anybody would be confused about who I am in any shape, form, or fashion, because I tell you, like literally out my mouth with specific words, not just show you, but I show you and I tell you on a regular. So if you pay any attention, that's why people who know me, people who have followed me for a while, they'll know when God is talking to me. They know, they recognize a shift. They see the shift in my face, the shift in my demeanor. They know when me and God are arguing. They know. They know when me and God are going back and forth, because there are things that I don't argue with God about. I just do them because he's told me to do them. And there are things that I argue with him about. I'm not doing that. Business, he made it real plain to me. Real plain to me that he's in control. That he's in control. And so I'm in a place of divine connection. And those that are connected to me, whether we're talking business or spirit, there's going to be a lot of overlap. There's going to be a lot of overlap. And not because I'm making anybody do it, but because they'll tell you for themselves. They felt a pull. They'll tell you for themselves. They felt God speaking to them about the business. They'll tell you it's not about me. I'm not making anybody do anything. But this business is going to fund kingdom work. Therefore, God is in it. and I've given it to God. So many myths out here. We miss it so badly. We miss it so badly. The world has convinced us that God and business don't go together. How can you do business without God? How can you do anything without God? I'm still trying to figure out how in the world I could give God everything but my relationships and think they would work. It's foolishness. It's insanity. He has to have dominion in every area of your life. And for me, he's integrated, and my life is integrated. My life is not piecemeal. My life is not school over here, business over here, this over here. Listen, my students at the university, they get Dr. V the prophet. Now, I don't necessarily say I'm prophesying, but Dr. V the prophet is definitely in there. God is definitely in the room. And I'm going to love on them, and I'm going to do it in a way that doesn't like make them feel some type of way if they believe anything different than what I believe. But I'm going to be me, unapologetically, holistically, no matter where I'm placed or positioned. God knows no matter where he places me, I'll do what he says do. And I'll say what he says say. That's just me. That's just me. And those flaws that I have, those things that are not perfected yet, some of that stuff I believe he allows me to keep just so that certain people will be drawn to me. Now, everybody won't be, because I'm not for churchy people. I'm not for the churchy people. I'm not for churchy people. Listen, I'm not for you, and I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. You not my crowd. You not my tribe. I'm for the people that love God and want to have a relationship with God, but are sick of church and churchy people because they've seen the hypocrisy. People who want something that's real, someone who's real, someone who can be authentic. That's who I'm for. And I know that. I'm for the people that still have struggles that are real struggles, that need somebody who's not going to judge them, but someone's going to love them, but also hold them to a standard and be like, you need to get your life together. Regina said, yes, the Father told me to let him work out the details, and he did just that. He's very intentional. Listen, I'm telling you, and I know what I heard. I know what I heard concerning certain people. I knew. I didn't know. Hey, it ain't my job to work it out for nobody, but it's my job to just, hey, this, just there it is. What you do with it is up to you. So if you've ever felt like my relationship with God or my prophetic gift has been an attempt to manipulate or to maneuver you to do something, I apologize that you felt like that. Because I promise you, that's never my intention. When I prophesy, I only say what God says say. God don't say it, I don't say it. I'm just telling you. I have a heart for God and I have a heart for God's people. But I'm also very clear on my assignment, and I'm getting clearer day by day. When Doug Addison gave a prophetic word today, and I'm going to read y'all the prophetic word so that y'all can hear what the man of God said. He's another one of those prophets that people may, respect and stuff. Because I'm just telling you, God is sick of fake and he's sick of false separations and all that stuff. This is what the word was today. You will get a deeper understanding into your calling. You will get deeper understanding into your calling. That's what he said. You will get deeper understanding into your calling. That was the word that I got this morning. And so I sit here with a deeper understanding. I've had some conversations in the last 24 hours that have helped me get a level of clarity that caused me to be steadfast and immovable all the more. I'm called to certain people. And I'm called to certain people. And those people recognize my voice and they see my heart. And I do what God says do. No? Alita said, I'm a witness to that. You tell me what God tells you to tell me always, even if I don't understand it. Even if me, don't agree with it or don't like it. I remember I had a couple in my ministry, and amazing couple. I'm talking about faithful, diligent, hardworking, anointed, like all of that. And I remember God told me that it was time for them to leave. And I said, okay, God. And so I waited. And he didn't want to say it because he didn't know how I was going to take it. Because, pastors get very territorial and stuff. When you tell them it's time for you to leave, they get territorial. You're leaving me. And that's their whole abandonment issues, right? And he was like, I need to talk to you about something. And I said, what? I said, the fact that y'all are leaving? He was like, how did you know? God told me. See, if you're a prophet, God will prepare you for the moves that he's making in people's lives, but you're responsible for your response to it. And I said, yeah. I said, God told me. And he was like, but I really don't want to leave right now. No. Baby, you need to get your stuff together. Because what you're not getting ready to do is bring curses down on me and my ministry because you won't leave. You're not doing that. Get yourself together. Do what you need to do so that you can leave and do what God tells you to do. That's the appropriate response. And I sent them off with a blessing. I blessed them off. See, because they don't belong to me. Nobody belongs to anybody. We all belong to God. And so when God shifts somebody or God changes something or changes a relationship, that's God's doing. There's a reason for that. There's a reason. And it doesn't mean that something's wrong with one of the people. It doesn't mean that. It simply means that God is doing something new. And sometimes it requires people to be moved out of the way for other people to show up in a way that he needs them to show up in someone's life. I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad about that. And don't you be mad about that. Let God do what he needs to do in people's lives without you. And watch the liberation that comes. So I say all that to say this. Get super clear about God's mandate and his mission for your life. Because then you'll be able to sift through things, right? And I don't think anyone is just out here, trying to say stuff to me, to throw me off. I don't think that. I don't think that. But see, this is the thing that you got to remember about prophets. We prophesy in part. We know in part and we prophesy in part, right? So we may not be hearing everything, or it may mean something else. Like, I don't get into that. I just know that when a word hits me, I know that's God, right? That's a word for me from God. And when it doesn't, I take it to God. And it don't take me a long time. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Some of y'all have this relationship with God where y'all have to fast for 3 days before you hear from him. That's not my relationship with him. If I want super clarity on something, I may fast to get super clarity, but God just talks to me. I say, God, is this me? He'll be like, yeah, that's you. And I'll be like, whoa. Or, God, is this me? He'll be like, no, that's not what it is. It may be how it's perceived, but that's not what it is. So listen, you got to hear the voice of God for yourself. Learn how to do that. Do it well. And watch how he gives you clarity. If you guys want to know more about 1044 Pro, if you want to know more about this bar that is changing people's lives physically as well as financially, if you want to know more about the science and the technology behind it, and our coffee that's launching and shipping out next week, listen, I want to invite you to a special Zoom tonight with the scientists who created this technology. I want to invite you to hear it for yourself. You are absolutely welcome. And if you want to know more, say, I want to know more. And I'll send you the link for tonight. so that you can get in there. I'm never going to try to force anybody to do anything. I'm never going to try to manipulate. And I want y'all to hear me now. I can manipulate people into doing things. I consciously, y'all hear what I said? I consciously and actively work not to do that. That's why sometimes I just won't even say anything. And sometimes I have to say something because there's something that God is trying to do. So with that said, you guys, listen, know this, know that your girl loves you. I absolutely love you guys to life and life more abundant. And my prayer is that God will continue to reveal himself unto you like never before, that you'll walk in kingdom authority, that you will know who you are, and that you will stand up in that you'll pursue your purpose with reckless abandon, right? That you will have a passionate pursuit of your manifested purpose, and it will be pulled into the earth realm and manifested so that the world might see his glory through your life. All right, you guys. Love you guys. Be blessed. Mwah.